Chapter 22. There are different kinds of spiritual gifts, but they are all from the same Spirit. There are different ways to serve, but we serve the same Lord. And there are different ways that God works in people, but it is the same God who works in all of us to do everything. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 4 through 6. One of the harsh realities about going to prison is that life goes on in the free world, whether you are there or not. Because we put ourselves in a position to be locked away doesn't mean those we love on the outside are supposed to bring their lives to a halt until we get back out. I think that expectation is what leaves a lot of inmates hurt and heartbroken. To suddenly have to face the reality that someone you love has moved on with their life is like a slap in the face. In the segregation unit, I was restricted from receiving visits and only allowed to use the phone twice a week if I was able to use it at all. It never occurred to me that my actions would affect Kat just as much as it did me. But the last letter I got from her, the day I was released in the general population, made me quickly face the reality of what I had done. Kat seemed to enjoy writing letters, and I've been getting about 2 or 3 a week since I've been in prison. But this letter had a much different tone than all the others. Unlike most of them, it was short and to the point, and it read, "Hey King, I want you to know before I say anything else that I love you more than you can imagine. Not a moment goes by that I don't wish you were here with us. You should have been home 3 weeks ago, but now you gotta do 4 more years over something stupid. King, I was willing to stand by your side until you came home, but it appears that you don't want to come home. Why do you feel you always have something to prove? Well, prove to me that you really can change and come home to be a father to our daughter. Until then, I'm moving on with my life. I'll always love you, but I can't keep my life on pause for you, not knowing what to expect when you get out, or if you'll just go right back and leave me again. Here's a few pictures of your daughter. Isn't she beautiful? She looks so much like you that I get sad and lonely every time I look into her eyes. Well, take care of yourself, King, and I really do hope you get yourself together before it's too late. Forever, Kat." I read Kat's letter once more, and then I looked at the picture she sent of my 10-month-old daughter. The other letter I got that day was from my brother, Junior, who wrote me faithfully every month like he promised. As I started to read his most recent letter, it was obvious that Junior wasn't happy at all. His letter read, "What's up, big bro? I just got home from basketball practice. My coach say I already play like I'm ready for the NBA. I guess I learned from the best, huh? I miss you, bro. Things not the same no more. Mom got a new boyfriend she be with all the time. She say they was in college together, but I don't like him, and Summer don't either. I don't like the way he look, and he talk funny. I've been asking Mom to bring me to see you, but she said you can't get visits because you been getting in trouble. Bro, if you stop getting in trouble so you can come home, I'll give you free tickets to all my games when I go play for the Lakers. And bro, you don't have to sell drugs no more, because we rich now. Mama and her new boyfriend got a whole lot of money, and we about to move into a big house in Mountain Brook. So come on home, bro. I miss you. Junior." The letter from Junior got my attention for several reasons. At 12 years old, my little brother was letting me know that either he known what I was into all along, or Mariah had told him why I was in prison. But the way he pleaded with me to come home showed me how unhappy he was and how much he needed me to help nurture his ambitions and push him to go hard at his dreams. I let my dreams slip away from me while chasing a dangerous alternative. But Junior still had a chance that I no longer had. My mind went back to Cat's letter, and the more I thought about it, I became angry and I felt betrayed. Cat was the one person I still trusted, and I just knew she would always have my back no matter what. But she turned her back on me, probably to be with some new nigga, and not once did I ever feel hurt or heartbroken about it. But she had the nerve to tell me to prove something to her. I had nothing to prove to Cat, but I did intend to get right, get out, and go hard so I could show her that it was her loss and not mine. On my second day in population, I returned to my cell after last meal to find the cell crowded from wall to wall with enough young black men to have a Black Panther rally. As I walked in and made my way through the clutter of bodies packed in the small cell, my first thought was that I had walked in on a gang meeting or something. Then I spotted my cellmate as he sat on the bottom bunk with a thick wooden checkerboard in the center of the bed. He began to beat his fist on the checkerboard, creating a beat that sounded like it was coming from a beat machine. 3 other guys in the cell began to hum a tune in unison that blended naturally with the beat. Another guy came to the center of the cell at that point and spit some tight lyrics that went perfectly with the beat my cellmate was making with the wooden checkerboard. Don't nothing compare to a prison rap session, and as a variety of different brothers displayed their skills, I was taken aback by the realness and the passion these brothers put into their music. They had a unique style and a certain level of aggression I've only heard in very few rappers, one of which had just recently been killed. "How long you been rapping?" I asked my cellmate D when we were locked in the cell for the night, following the 10:30 lockdown. "Man, I've been rapping since I was about 10 or 11, he replied as he got a towel from the bed and wiped sweat from his face. "You rap?" he asked me. "Not really," I replied. "I can freestyle a little bit, but I ain't never tried to write a whole song." My cellmate, who everybody referred to as D, began to beat on the checkerboard once more. He had a good little vibe going as he hummed the bass line to the beat. "Let me hear you freestyle something." He continued to beat, and I became instantly locked in on the tune. Then I came off the top of my head, spitting like I've been doing it for years. I was zoned out on the beat as I flowed a tight freestyle about my life in the hustling game, and the rhymes seemed to flow naturally, and I kept going until I eventually ran out of words. "Damn, that was tight," D told me once I stopped rapping. "All you gotta do is put in some work on your writing skills, and you gonna be the truth. So what they call you?" "In the streets, they call me King Solomon," I told him. "The wisest king in the land," he said, kind of to himself. In the time I shared a cell with D, I learned a lot from him that stayed with me for many years to come. Being around each other all day, every day, I soon realized that he was a creative genius, if not a genius, period. He put me on a lot of good books, but one of my favorite was Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. "Be careful with that one," he told me one day after noticing my interest in the book. As my interest in reading grew, so did my vocabulary, and it was during that time I developed a skill in writing I never knew I possessed. I wrote letters, poems, raps, or sometimes I just write down some of my random thoughts. With my level of knowledge no longer limited, my lyrics now had a broader subject matter. It wasn't long before I was getting in on the rap sessions and holding my own. While I was in prison honing my rap and writing skills, the heat was turning up in the streets of Birmingham, Alabama. Priscilla, the fine-ass Hispanic chick I hooked up with at the club on my last night of freedom, had been my ace in the hole when Cat had so suddenly stepped out of my life. She'd been visiting me faithfully since I added her to my visiting list and was proven to be a valuable asset who didn't mind taking on the responsibility of holding me down in any way I needed. You been watching the news? Priscilla asked me during a visit one day. Nah, I barely do come out my cell, I told her. The look on her face told me something was bothering her. Why? What's going on? I asked Priscilla. 4 people got killed in an apartment out in Centerpoint last night, she said in a somber voice. One of them was my ex-boyfriend. She went on to tell me that the news said 2 people kicked the apartment door in and opened fire, killing everyone in the apartment. Overall, there were 3 black males and 1 female killed in the shooting. I thank God me and Amp wasn't together no more, cause that could have been me, said Priscilla. Did you say Amp? I asked, my attention now completely on what she was saying. The only Amp I knew was my Uncle Ronnie's right-hand man, and Centerpoint was also where I had gone to meet him the last time we did business. Yeah, Amp, Priscilla replied. You probably know him, Priscilla added, cause he was the man in the city from what I hear. Actually, he was the man behind the man in the city, I said to myself. But I wasn't about to tell that to Priscilla. It was best to let her think that I didn't know him at all for the time being. I don't know, I said to Priscilla. I think I might have heard his name or something. You know, I'm a north side nigga, and we don't fuck around too much on the east side. While I ate the snacks Priscilla had gotten for me from the vending machine on the visiting yard, I listened to her talk of how she and Amp had once shared an apartment on the south side of town. They'd been together for like a year and a half and had separated about a month before she received my first letter. I had written her a letter not long after getting out of segregation, right after Kat decided to move on. And once I did a quick calculation in my mind, I determined that Priscilla and Amp had to have been still together during the time I first ran into her at the club. But that didn't seem to stop her from leaving the club with me that night and putting it on me so good that she still was on my mind a year later and was the first person I reached out to when my girl left me for dead in prison. Thinking about it later, as I was laying in my bed that night, it appeared to me that Priscilla was what is known in the streets as a sack chaser. And as pretty and fine as Priscilla was, she was probably guaranteed to end up running through every dope boy in the city. And she was making good progress already. There had been Midnight's brother Ken, then Amp, and now me, at least that I knew of. But the fact that she'd chosen to be with me at a time when I was down and unable to provide the luxuries I could if I was free and still hustling, let me know that her interest in me was about more than just money. She took the time to come visit me nearly every weekend and handle any business I needed handled on the outside. Maybe she had another dope boy on the side who was giving her the things I couldn't. But Priscilla continued to hold me down while I was locked up, and that's the only thing that mattered. I wasn't trying to worry myself about the rest. When she came to visit me the following week, Priscilla shared with me some more news that just confirmed for me what I was already assuming. You ain't gonna believe who they arrested for Amp's murder, she said to me as soon as I sat down at the table. But I wasn't as surprised as Priscilla expected me to be when she told me that Midnight and one other person whose name she couldn't remember had been arrested and charged with 4 counts of capital murder. The only thought in my mind was that Midnight had finally made good on his word. I can't lie and say I felt bad about Amp being dead, especially since I'm almost positive that he was behind me getting shot and I've been patiently waiting for a perfect opportunity to kill him myself. But now that he finally got what he deserved, it left me with a lot of mixed emotions. I'd even spent a lot of time in the law library since I've been in prison and knew enough for the law to know that if Midnight got convicted of 4 capital murders, he would never see the streets again. Just one capital murder could land him on death row, but with 4, he'd be lucky to get life without parole. Regardless of the slight fallout we had, Midnight was still my brother, and I didn't want to see him in a jam like that. Close to the end of the visit, Priscilla was able to brighten my mood by informing me that she'd been talking to a lawyer friend of hers to see about trying to get some of my good time back. He said they got a 6-month program here called Crime Bill, Priscilla told me. And if you complete that program and get your GED, he may be able to work something out. I take the GED test next month, I told her. You already know I'ma kill that shit. You need to, Priscilla said, cause I'm tired of sleeping in bed alone every night. I didn't believe for a second that she went to bed alone every night, if she did at all. But she was definitely riding this time out with me, so I guess it shouldn't even matter. And to top it all off, she was doing what she could to try to get me out of here as soon as possible. So when I finally took the GED test a month later, not only did I pass, but I also scored higher than anyone else in my class. But the thought of moving to another cell block, away from the brothers I rapped with and had grown close to, had me kind of reluctant to sign up for Crime Bill just yet. Bruh, handle your business, my cellmate D said to me when I told him I had to take Crime Bill so I could get my good time back. One of us need to get out of here and put this rap shit in effect ASAP. So go to the drug dorm, do whatever it takes to get out of here and pave the way for the rest of us. D was the only one in our small circle of rappers serving life without parole, but we all agreed that if one of us got out and made it in the rap game, we wouldn't leave the others behind. So I went ahead and signed up for Crime Bill, and they moved me to the drug dorm immediately. It took 8 months for me to complete the program, but as soon as I did, I was all too eager to move and get away from the many rules I had to follow to be able to remain in the program. I had become adjusted to living in 2 Block. It was known as the Thunderdome because anything could pop off at any time, and you had to have heart in order to survive just one day being locked inside a cell the size of a bathroom with someone who's been condemned to spending the rest of their life in prison. There were no rules to follow in 2 Block, except the ones laid down by the old heads, and they were simple. No snitching, no stealing, mind your own business. But the main thing is that as long as you didn't break those 3 rules, niggas respected you, and everybody respected each other. So as soon as I graduated the Crime Bill program, I asked specifically to be moved back to 2 Block, the Thunderdome. Not much had changed in the 8 months I had been gone. My homeboy Rock had moved into the cell with D, my old cellmate. But naturally, they still had the cell jumping like a studio, and it was still packed. I had done so much writing when I was in 1 Block taking the program, so I was anxious to let all my niggas hear the new songs that I had written. My rap skills were by now on a whole new level. I remember D told me one day that he could see me taking over the game with the flow I got. It seemed like everything I did, I mastered it, and rap was no different. I felt right then that I was ready to take on the whole rap game. This nigga they was calling Trey 8, who was from Birmingham and transferred to the camp while I was in the drug dorm, was the newest member of our group and had been rapping with them for a while now. For some reason, he began to make comments in his songs that I felt were targeted towards me. Like in this one song he stated, "I'm the best who ever did it in the whole fucking camp. If you a king, bet your crown against the whole book of stamps." When he first said it, the whole cell began to look in my direction at the same time, as if it was obvious he had to be referring to me, and they were anxious to see how I reacted. But I just stood there and continued vibing to the beat D laid down on the wooden checkerboard while Trey 8 finished his song. I can't lie, this nigga had a mean flow and hell of a wordplay. But if for some reason he felt the need to call me out to a rap battle in front of my whole clique, he was about to get his wolf ticket bought. Thinking he caught me off guard with a song I found out later was written a few weeks before I moved back to 2 Block. Trey 8 and everybody in the cell that day probably thought I'd have to write something to come back at a later session. So imagine the surprise when I told D to keep that same beat going. I was already feeling the beat, so I jumped right in and ate Trey alive with only 10 bars from the top of the head. But the last 2 bars was what did it. I said, so fuck a Trey 8, nigga. My Mac 11 shoot 32. Better watch your back, cause next time ain't no rapping, I'ma murder you. I guess his pride couldn't stand the lyrical beatdown he got, because as soon as D stopped the beat, Trey 8 was acting like he wanted to rush me, while several others were holding him back. It was proven that he couldn't handle me with the lyrics, and I was ready to show him he couldn't handle my fight game either, until someone pulled the door open and said I was being called to the ship office. Being called to the ship office is never a good thing. They either calling you to serve a disciplinary or to notify you of a death in the family. So it's very rare to be called and given the kind of news that I was. You called me for something? I asked Officer Knight, the fine-ass female guard who mostly worked the ship office during the day shift. You got somebody you can call to come pick you up? She asked as she chewed furiously on a piece of gum. Come pick me up? I repeated questioningly. Yeah, we just got a fax from Central Records saying all your good time was restored, which makes you exactly 1 year, 3 months, and 13 days past your EOS date. So we got to get you processed out of here today. She blew a big bubble with the gum in her mouth, then let it pop in a flirtatious manner. Unless you want to stay here with us. Nah, I'm good on that, I replied. The phone in the ship office was able to dial straight out, so I recited Priscilla's number from memory as Officer Knight punched it in on the ship office phone. Instead of handing me the phone's receiver, she placed the call on speaker. Hello? Priscilla sounded like she was driving on the freeway when she answered the call. Where you at? I asked her while Officer Knight's nosy ass just sat there staring at me. I'm on my way to the mall to get something to wear up there to see you tomorrow, Priscilla replied. I had completely forgotten about visitation tomorrow, but at this point, it didn't even matter. Look, we can go to the mall later, I told Priscilla. Right now, I need you to come pick me up, cause these people in this place starting to creep me the fuck out. I was looking directly at Officer Knight, who was still in my grill when I made that last comment. What you mean? They letting you out now? Oh my God, Priscilla screamed so loud into the phone they may have heard it all the way in the cell block. I'm on my way. She hung the phone up instantly. Oh, so I'm creeping you out? Officer Knight asked in a sassy tone, letting me know how closely she'd been paying attention to my conversation. I was looking at all that gold in your mouth. How much all that cost? She asked me. You can't afford this gold, I told Officer Knight with a smile that allowed her to see all 6 of them. It cost me about $1,000 and 9 bullet holes to get this gold. But next time you see me, all these gonna be diamonds. I hope I don't see you next time, she said. I do, I replied. I was looking straight at her, so she knew I definitely wasn't referring to me coming back to prison. Boy, go pack all your stuff and take it to the ICS office, she said with a smile that left the door open to possibilities. One thing you had to know about the female COs working in the prison system. They were women first. And women will always run into that one man who attracts them enough to jeopardize everything. even their job. It only took me about 5 minutes to pack my things because all I took with me was an address book, some pictures, and a few letters. Everything else I left with my partner D, who become a close friend during my stay at West Jefferson. I gave D my word that I'd look out for him once I got situated, so I gave him all the numbers where I could be reached. At the time, I had no idea where I was planning to stay or what I planned to do. Freedom had crept up on me and caught me completely unprepared. But the important thing is, I'm free now, so I deal with the rest